Welcome into the Sportsmemo NFL opening line report with Teddy Covers and myself, Drew Martin. I'm stepping in for Kelly in Vegas. Normally does this with Teddy on Mondays. Get you on the right side of the line moves here in the NFL. An important podcast, one of the most important we do here at Sportsmemo. And getting called into the bullpen. Hopefully don't take too much away from the show. But the expert handicapper for the podcast, the mainstay, Mr. Covers, Teddy Covers. Welcome into the podcast. How you feeling today, buddy?
I'm feeling all right for a Monday morning. Drew, how about yourself?
I'm feeling good. Probably not as good as you, though. Look, Teddy, let me just throw out a couple records here, man. 68% NFL year to date. And I'll tell you one record that really jumped off the board at me. 3+ years in the NFL, you're 160 and 114. That's 58%. 3+ years going in the NFL. Hats off to you, buddy. You're doing something right. Hopefully you'll teach the listeners and myself a little bit of betting the NFL here.
Well, I appreciate the kudos, Drew, but look, the NFL is not easy. It's never going to be easy. And how do you beat it? You work. It's been a good run since the start of 2015, where I'm at 58% for the NFL. But this season's been great. I mean, the sides in particular. I'm at 78% for the season on sides, and we're well into November now. So that's certainly a good sign. But the NBA's been really good. The college football's been profitable. The big tickets have been great. 67% with the 10 stars over the last 3+ months. So it's been a real good run, and let's see if we can keep it rolling. Because all that, my friend, is rearview mirror. You know how it is on a Monday morning. It's not what have we done. It's what are we going to do. And obviously right now, it's time to delve into what we're going to look at for the NFL this coming week.
Yeah, Teddy, you touched on it. 79% in the NBA year to date. And I don't know what's wrong with your college football, Teddy. Only 57% there, man.
I'm actually frustrated. I feel like I've left some stuff on the table in college football. But we won this last week, and we won the big play this last week nice and easy with Michigan State over Maryland. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little college football run in November. I put the time in. I put the work in, and I'm not going to complain about it. But I feel like there's definitely money to be made down the stretch in college football.
Yeah, I say that totally tongue-in-cheek, man. 57% college football year-to-date. Nothing to shake your head out. And, guys, we got a special here for the NFL Opening Line Report podcast. 3 months all-access. That's the 90-day all-access with Teddy Covers. Normally $975. We're selling it right now for $549 on sportsmemo.com. That's less than $6 a day. And Teddy and I were just going over this right before we got on. It goes through February 5th, and guess what's on February 3rd? That's the Super Bowl. So this gets you all the way through the Super Bowl. NFL, college football, NBA, throw in college basketball as well, all for under $6 a day. You'll get Teddy's Super Bowl props package, all that stuff for just $549. The coupon code is Teddy Save. That's Teddy's name with the word save behind it, no spaces when you're checking out. And it's a great deal there. 90-day all access with Teddy Covers. Coupon code Teddy Save. Teddy, let's get into the NFL opening line report. But first, let's talk tonight's Monday night football game. Tennessee, Dallas, total of 40, and we got a let's see, 4.5 or 5 out there. Not sure if you're on this game, but do you have any quick thoughts about it?
I'm not on the game tonight. I had a slight lean towards Tennessee plus the points, in large part because I don't trust Dallas to lay more than a field goal. I know the Cowboys are 3-0 straight up at home this year, but I also know this offense has not clicked at any point this season. And defensively, Tennessee is rock solid. Offensively, where the Titans have struggled, and that certainly concerns me tonight. Number 30 in total offense, number 31 in points scored. It'll be the first game that Marcus Mariota is playing without the glove. He's saying that his elbow is fine, that he can finally feel his arm after 2 months of dealing with the injury. But I certainly think that Tennessee can bang with Dallas in the trenches, but if the Titans fall behind, that passing game is not capable of rallying back. So with total sitting at 40, both of these teams are better defensively than offensively, at least early on. I'm not excited about betting under 40. I'll put it that way. But at the same time, to get this game up and over the total, you're going to need some big plays. You got a chance for the big plays here. I'd rather have over than under tonight, but again, it's not a game that I have placed a wager on yet. It's not a game that I'm planning on placing a wager on between now and kickoff.
All right, Teddy, on to the meat and bones of the podcast. We got Thursday's night's game, Carolina at Pittsburgh. Looks like 50 the total, with the Steelers laying pretty much fours across the board. Cam Newton and company, big win this past week, but short week. You know what that means. Tough spot for him. How do you view this one?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because we have seen the money come in on Carolina in early betting, and signs are showing we could see more. You know, there was a 6.5 at the Westgate of the opener, 5 at Pinnacle and Bookmaker. Now we're looking at even a 3.5 at Bookmaker, 4 offshore and in town. Of course, as we do every week here on the opening line report, I like to give the look-ahead line last week from the Westgate Superbook, as well as my own powering number. Look-ahead line, Steelers 6.5. My powering number, Steelers only 4. And the market's going with the PR number, not the LA number. Look-ahead versus power rating. And there's been a lot to like about Carolina over the course of the last month. And a lot I like about Pittsburgh, a defense that hasn't given up more than 21 since September. Of course, the teams that travel on Thursday night tend to have a rough go of it, as long as they're not traveling across the bay, like we saw last week with San Fran and Oakland. But bottom line, or even wasn't that a home game for the Niners? Yeah. The bottom line here is that we've seen Panthers money. I don't think we're going to see more of it. I would be surprised if there isn't at least some Steelers money before kickoff, but maybe not a lot. I think 4 looks like the prevailing number moving forward.
Teddy, let's move on to Sunday's card. We got the early kicks here. AFC East battle, Buffalo at the New York Jets. Looks like 36.5 or 37 the total, with 7.5s mostly in the marketplace, with the Jets laying that at home.
Yeah, look-ahead line was 7. My powering number is 6.5. The market's opened 8, and now down to 7.5. And I feel like this is a betting alert game. You know, if you like the Bills, I don't think the 7.5s are going to hold. They might, but let's put it this way: it's not going back up. If you like the Bills, bet them now. Plus the hook off the touchdown. And obviously, if you like the Bills, you're taking a leap of faith in Buffalo. From a statistical standpoint, and you've seen the early money come on the Bills. The Bills' stats are fine in the 41-9 loss against the Bears, but the Bears didn't have to put up big stats in that ballgame. It wasn't like the Bills' defense was awful. Their offense was what it is. Of course, the Jets just played a game in which they allowed 7 first downs at Miami. That defense was dominant in that ballgame. And the Jets lost by a touchdown. Rough game for Sam Darnold. Although I like the quotes out of the Jets locker room after the game, and they did get it both Enunwa and Robbie Anderson back for Sam Darnold to throw to. Didn't matter in the loss to Miami, but those two will make a difference. That being said, no point spread bargains with the Jets. With the Jets in this range, the Bills are a team the bookmakers are really struggling to attract money for, and of course, off the worst week of the season for the sports books here in Nevada. I heard some quotes with some bookmakers calling it one of the worst, top 10 worst Sundays all time. Yesterday, where all the public favorites came in. Books got to attract some Bills money here, and hence the 7.5s and 8s at the open. But that Bills money has already come. I'm not convinced we're going to see a whole lot more. Look at this total, 36.5. Drew, you don't see a lot of 36.5s in the NFL in 2018.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, when you bring up the on Twitter, the bookmakers saying it was top 10 worst, do you think how much of that do you think is marketing, and how much of that do you think is it was really that bad for him?
Well, okay, there's 3 factors to consider here. One is that my impression, and again, I've been in Vegas for 20 years. There's this thought process out there. Oh, they're lying to you. No, they're not. The bookmakers they've nothing to gain from lying to you. They're not ashamed to say we lost. They're not ashamed to say we won. And when you have 8 different bookmakers, you read the Purdom article, the 8 different bookmakers. Oh yeah, we got our clocks cleaned. Yeah, it was the worst day of the year. Yeah, it was it's not like, what can the books gain from lying about it? Nothing. What?
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me. What is there something? What do they gain?
I guess if they're all saying it, nothing. But maybe if one or two just kind of jump out there and say a big statement, you get some more retweets and your book's out there and linked to your book and stuff. So maybe it's a marketing piece for you. That's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, in terms of like what difference that's going to make to the book's handle and hold the next week, none. The bookmakers, by and large, will tell you what happened. They really don't. You say, oh, they're getting a little marketing from some retweets. Come on, dude. How much is that going to, in terms of that's going to actually affect their handle and their hold and their bonus at the end of the year? No.
Yeah. No, good point, Teddy. I'm with you.
I mean, we live in a world where everything's a conspiracy and no one's ever telling the truth. And it's, no, I'm not buying that bullshit. A lot of it is bullshit. And that's, the bookmakers, there's nothing to gain. There's no upside for, let's lie and then tell about how we really got our clocks cleaned. No, the books had a bad day yesterday, a very bad day. Does that mean that did they give back all the money that they won in September? No. Jay Cornigate's quote was the best. Guess what? We'll still be open for business on Tuesday.
That's a good way to put it from Jay. Teddy, let's stay in the early kicks. We got 253, 254. Atlanta Falcons at the Cleveland Browns. Looks like 50.5 the total with the Falcons laying 4 on the highway.
Yeah, look ahead line here. Atlanta minus 1.5. My powering number, and I was trying to get to a place where I can bet Atlanta. And my powering number is like 3. The markets aren't on Cleveland anymore. Although maybe I haven't downgraded the Browns enough, because one thing that I didn't factor into Cleveland lost a couple of guys from their secondary yesterday. Trying to remember if I forgot the name. Give me 1 second. I'll track down the names. But the bottom line is it was their top 2 corners to the Chiefs, and the top 3, Mitchell, Ward, and Gaines, are all banged up coming into this week, and that's not what you want to be going against Atlanta. Not even maybe. I'm surprised that this line had got steamed up a little bit. I'm surprised it's not getting steamed up more. I'll tell you this: if you like the Falcons, lay 4 right now. This, does it feel emergency betting alert-ish? Not necessarily, but I don't think this is necessarily boom. If you don't get it right now, you're going to lose it. But if you like the Falcons, lay the 4 earlier in the week. I would expect this number is going to go up. There's, Atlanta was 1-4, and now they're 4-4. And boy, that offense against the Redskins was not going to be stopped. It was efficient and effective from the opening kick, where they have 4 touchdowns their first 5 drives, and the only one that wasn't was kind of a weird interception on a play that the receiver was open and could have been a 5th touchdown. And the Falcons also are starting to get some love from the betting from the public now. So I would expect this line to rise, even though the look ahead and my powering number both have the number lower.
Teddy, we got the New Orleans Saints, Cincinnati Bengals, 54 the total, with New Orleans in a tough spot, I guess you could say, after the big win on the road now, laying 4.5 at Chris.
Yeah, and the markets tend to like the team that's been struggling off the bye and then back home again. And that's, the sharp money has come on Cincinnati here. Look headline was Saints minus 4.5, my powering number. Saints minus 5. And I made a significant adjustment for Cincy minus A.J. Green. That's a big injury. That offense, you look at the numbers, it's pretty clear how much better the Bengals are with Green on the field than when Andy Dalton is missing his top wideout. And it's not like they don't have other weapons, but, Green is the straw that stirs the drink for that offense. And I think the market's certainly looking at that and noting that on the Cincinnati side of the equation. Of course, the Bengals with the extra time to prepare, and the Saints coming off a truly intense, wild, must-win, knocking off the undefeated Rams. And New Orleans played great in that ballgame. Make no mistake about it, even though they did, very quietly blow a 3-touchdown lead at home. But the defense made the plays they had to down the stretch. The public will be on New Orleans in this ball game, but the wise guys clearly on the other side. Early money towards the under after the A.J. Green injury, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see more money come on the under as the week progresses, despite the fact that the Saints' offensive numbers are gaudy. Let's not forget their defense did play better last week against the Rams, and it's been a couple of good weeks now for that Saints D.
We got the Washington Redskins at the Tampa Bay Bucks. Teddy, 51.5 the total, seeing 2.5s pretty much across the board. That's the Bucks laying it at home.
Yeah, look ahead line here was pick. My powering number is Tampa -2. And again, I had the right side of the Redskins Falcons game yesterday. That was the big ticket for myself and my clients, and that was pretty easy. With the Washington was a bet against team yesterday, and it got easier very early because the Redskins lost. They went into the game without Trent Williams, so the left tackle, and then they lost both starting guards. Sean Lauvau and Brandon Sheriff were hurt. Lauvau got carted off the field, and then somebody else got hurt as well. Moses got hurt as well in that game, although he did come back on the field. But that's 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen that are banged up. 2 of them, one guy's out, another guy got carted off. They got a couple of MRIs today. And, what did we say last week about the Redskins? The passing game's broken. Alex Smith isn't working, throwing the ball down the field. They fell behind yesterday. It was over. I mean, there was no way they were coming back and throwing the football to, down 3 touchdowns. It's just not how the Redskins are built. If Adrian Peterson can't run the football effectively, they're in trouble. That being said, against Tampa, Adrian Peterson should be able to run the football effectively. That Bucs defense just gets worse by the week, and they fire the coordinator and hasn't made a difference, and trying different game plans. I mean, they're throwing a bunch of shit on the wall and seeing what's going to stick. And so far, not much has stuck for that Tampa defense. But, the offense continues to show life. And again, you say, which team has a chance if they're trailing? Tampa's got a chance if they're trailing. Ryan Fitzpatrick again yesterday almost rallied them back from a 35-7 deficit. That game got interesting in the fourth quarter. Couldn't get the whole job done for Tampa. Not a team that I'm excited about laying points with, but the Redskins and those offensive line injuries create a big problem, even against a weak defense, against an opponent that can score. I don't know this gets to 3. I think it maxes out at 2.5, unless the Redskins' offensive line injury situation looks worse after the MRI are released. I think we'll find out info later in the day or tomorrow. But assuming the Redskins have some healthy offensive linemen, it's going to stay at 2.5. If they got 4 guys down, it could move to 3 because Tampa can score, and Washington, without anyone to protect their quarterback or open holes for Adrian Peterson, is not likely to score a whole lot.
Teddy, next game up, we got New England at Tennessee. I'm looking at the Sportsmemo odds page right now, powered by Don Best, seeing 6.5s or 7s at some books, no total posted. So not sure how you want to handle this, but we got New England, Tennessee. Should we skip it or?
Real quick, let's go. I mean, the Patriots look ahead with 6.5. My powering number going into tonight's game, New England -5. But I would expect the markets will come 6.5, 7. Unless the Titans look really good tonight. And if the Titans look really good, win the game and do it in convincing fashion, and Mariota looks healthy and Henry's running the football and the defense is dominant, maybe that line comes shorter. But there's some, in terms of positive signs for New England, their defensive front has not been good this year. It got pushed around for much of the campaign. And you know what happened on Sunday Night Football? That defensive line, without blitzing, pretty much controlled the line of scrimmage, especially in the second half. Aaron Rodgers did not have time to throw, and if that defense steps up, all of a sudden the Patriots get a little bit scarier. Let's not forget New England has been the single best point spread team in all of football over the last 2.5 seasons.
Teddy, we got the afternoon games. Miami at Green Bay, 47.5 the total, with the Packers laying 9 or 9.5, seeing 110 out there as well with some crazy juice. But Miami got a win against the Jets at home. This is a lot different task, though, going to Green Bay on the road. So how do you view Miami, Green Bay?
Yeah, of course, there was no look-ahead line on this ball game. Still concerns about Ryan Tannehill versus Brock Osweiler. And yes, there is a difference between those two quarterbacks, a significant difference. If you watched Osweiler miss, oh man, he had 2 touchdowns and he missed them both yesterday. And the only touchdown Miami scored was on the defensive side of the football. But like I said, no look-ahead line. My powering number was Green Bay -10. I expected the markets to be pretty well around that number. 9. The prevailing number as we speak with 47.5. Look, 7 first downs Miami had in that game. 7. And they won and covered against the Jets. Now, the Dolphins' defense had been hideous prior to this past week, and they played an inspired game against the Jets. Really, the best game they had all year. I don't even think it's close. They picked off Sam Darnold 4 times. They were pressuring his face. The pass rush was there. They were making plays in the secondary. That has not been Miami's MO this season. I'm not convinced they can do it twice in a row. And again, I got the Dolphins over 6.5 wins. They're 5-4 right now. And I feel like I'm going to sweat this all the way through because Miami's just not very good. But we will have to see. And again, I'm just looking at the notes on Tannehill listed as questionable. If Tannehill plays, Miami obviously will take money. If he does not, he will not. Worth noting, key injuries, Juwan James and Laramie Tunsil. 2 guys on the Dolphins' offensive line suffered knee injuries in yesterday's ball game, and the Dolphins have 9 players on IR since the beginning of the season. Those are injuries you want to be aware of, James and Tunsil, for Miami. And that's all I got for this game.
Yeah, no, definitely writing those down. I was thinking, you got, 7 games left and you only need 2 wins, but you're still sweating it, huh?
Oh, boy. I mean, look, so some of these season wins are looking pretty good. The 49ers under 8.5. If they lose one more game, we cash. I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about the Bills under. That was prescient. Betting that one early at the beginning of at the end of July before the markets realized how screwed up their season was going to be. This was all obvious, in preseason or before the start of the preseason. The Bills under looks good. The Chiefs over looks pretty good right now. If you want to read you want to go back and have fun, take a look at what I wrote about the Chiefs before the season. I'll give you a hint. This Patrick Mahomes thing was not a surprise for anyone that has read my write-up in July about what Kansas City was going to look like. And Philly under looks pretty good. I still need 2 losses from the Eagles, but I think that given their schedule, we should get those 2 losses from Philadelphia. So the one I'm sweating the most right now is the Dolphins over 6.5 at 5-4. It's a good start. The back half of their schedule is tougher, and Miami just stinks. So I'm just, eke out 2 more wins, guys. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, the NFL season win package you put out, Teddy, it's one of, if not the best in the business, man. Hats off to you. You've been doing well in that. Also, since the start of 2015, said at the beginning of the show, NFL record 160 and 114. That's 58% in the NFL over the last 3 years. And guys, the coupon code is TeddySave. And with that, the 90-day all-access pass is only $549. That's less than $6 a day. Get you all the way throughout the Super Bowl and includes NBA, college basketball, NFL, and college football there. Teddy, let's move back to the earlier kicks. 10 a.m. Pacific kick here. Jacksonville at Indy, 47 the total with the Colts laying 3 at home.
Look ahead line, Indy minus 1.5. My powering number, Indy minus 3.5. And the markets took out all the 3.5s last night. There were some out there. They're gone now, and they're saying watch out for the Jags. The Jags off a bye are going to be dangerous. Of course, both these teams coming off a bye, and they went in the bye in opposite directions. Jacksonville. Well, I shouldn't say that because the Jags did. There was hope for the Jags before the bye. In a sense that I don't know. They played Philly tough. It was their 4th straight loss. But coming out of that game after the debacle at home against the Texans the previous week and the debacle against the Cowboys and the debacle against the Chiefs, it was a sign in the right direction. That being said, I'm not convinced that everything's going to be fine for Jacksonville. But Blake Bortles with his shoulder injury, he participated in every drill during practice, and so did the running back Leonard Fournette, whose absence has clearly been a major factor for Jacksonville over the course of the last 2 months. But you ask me which of these 2 teams has more upside right now. I gotta think it's Indy, and the Colts defense has been impressive. Andrew Luck has found a rhythm with his receivers, and I think the Colts are one of these teams that has the potential to get a lot better as the season progresses with Marlon Mack running the football. Their offensive line's been good. Interesting matchup in this ballgame, really is. And Fournette's availability will likely move this line. If he's good to go, I expect to see more Jacksonville money. If he's not, we could see the line reverse and go back towards Indy.
Teddy, we got a NFC North clash here. Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears, 45 the total, with the Bears laying 6.5 at home in Soldier Field.
Yeah, and we haven't seen the markets crash on the Lions yet. It feels like they're tempted. They're just tempted to at some. Excuse me. Let me have a sip of tea here.
Take your time, Teddy.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about on these pods. But the Lions have been annihilated in each of the last 2 weeks. And when you saw Seattle last week, you're like, all right, well, here are the Seahawks. They look good. And then no. I mean, there was nothing fraudulent about the Chargers' win over Seattle yesterday, which speaks volumes about how Seattle manhandled Detroit the previous week. And then when the Lions go into Minnesota yesterday, they get sacked 10 times. And Minnesota didn't even blitz. It was all front four, eating up the Lions' offensive line, and nothing for Kerryon Johnson on the ground. And now all of a sudden, Golden Tate's in Philadelphia. These are problems for Detroit, and another bad loss here, and this team's going to start being priced among the bottom feeders. Again, the look-ahead line here was 3.5. My powering number is 5. The markets are at 6.5 and 7. And the Bears, will give them credit. Their defense dominated the game against Buffalo. The Bears' offense is still very much a work in progress, not a team that's going to be extending leads with a quarterback who the coaching staff is confident in. You're still seeing Trubisky. The only thing he looks good throwing are the dump-off passes. We'll see if there were issues in the Lions locker room dating back to the beginning of the preseason. And Matt Patricia, after a player's coach in Caldwell, Patricia's not necessarily the same cut of the same cloth. And I got a sense after yesterday's game against Minnesota, there's a little sniping going on there. Lions are going to be one of the teams the bookmakers are going to have a hard time attracting money for moving forward. Although, the wise guy's going to look at the season-long stats and say, sure, look at Detroit. That's why we're seeing, at Pinnacle, the 6.5, at Canner, the 6, whereas other books have 6.5 with juice and 7s out there right now. The wise guys do what they do. They bet stats, and the stats are not high on the Bears as touchdown chalk against the Lions.
Teddy, last 10 a.m. kick here. We got Arizona at Kansas City. 50 the total, seeing some 49.5s as well. Big number here, Teddy. 17 or 16.5, depending where you shop.
Yeah, and, the Chiefs survived the quote-unquote bad spot game against Cleveland, in large part because it was Cleveland. They've got a big game next Monday night, against the Rams in Mexico City. The hype machine will begin, and all Kansas City wants to do in this game is win the game and get out of town. There's not the emphasis to win by margin. The market's already seeing that and respecting that. Look-ahead line here was Chiefs minus 14.5. My powering number, Chiefs minus 16. The market's just a notch higher. Remember, Arizona didn't play this last week, so we're seeing a 2.5 point move towards Kansas City, and the other team didn't play. So the Chiefs, the bandwagon just continues to grow. And again, yesterday a disaster for sports books in town. They're worried about Kansas City, but what are you going to do? 16.5, 17. That's as high as NFL lines go. In general, the public will be on the Chiefs. The wise guys will be on the Cardinals, and you can already see that happening as you look from book to book with the early betting action.
Teddy, we got a California matchup here. The LA Chargers on the road facing the Oakland Raiders. They're also laying 9.5 or 10, 50.5 the total. Yeah, look at the line here with Chargers minus 8 on the road. My powering number is Chargers minus 9 on the road. The market's already ahead of that 9.5/10. And again, the books are having a very, they have to attract some money towards teams like Buffalo and Cleveland and Oakland. They're not attracting a lot of money. Arizona, so the casual bettors won't bet those teams, especially at this stage of the season after they've seen all those teams stink. Not once, not twice, multiple times. So what happens? You
you bump it up a notch and you take your 5-figure bets on the dog from the quote unquote sharp money, taking advantage of the value. That's why we're looking at 10s, 9.5s and 10s here. That's the only way they can attract a smidgen of Raiders money. Look, Raiders look like a very quit team last week, and it's clear. We were joking around. I don't know. I forget if I said this on the pod before, but I was hanging. I was in studio with doing ESPN radio here in Vegas last week, and we were joking around about the Raiders and how many of the current 53-man roster, how many of those guys are going to be on the team when they arrive in Las Vegas in 2020, which is a year and a half of that. And we made an over and under of 7.5 current Raiders on the roster in a year and a half, and everybody wanted the under. All right. It's complete turnover. The veterans have checked out. They're cutting Irwin. I mean, you know how it is in Oakland right now. There's no – they are as bad or worse than any other team in the NFL, period. Of course, when you're laying points with the Chargers, well, the kicker's going to miss an extra point and probably some field goals. The Chargers are going to have a stupid penalty and make a bad decision. And I mean, it's like clockwork with it. It doesn't matter the coach. It doesn't matter the year. It's like the same mental miscues and the same special teams mistakes have plagued L.A. regardless of coach for the last 2 decades. Not an easy team to lay this price with, even against a bottom feeder like the Raiders. But from a betting perspective, where the sharp money will come on Oakland, that's what this opening line was designed to do.
Teddy, I mean, great analysis there on the Raiders. 7.5, I like that number as well. And as a franchise, can you really blame them, or do you think they're doing the smart thing here?
I blame them. Can I blame them? I can blame them for so many things. Okay. I can blame them for thinking that Jack Del Rio had figured it out the year they went 12-4 and won every coin flip game. And then they signed Derek Carr to the extension. And then they bring in the veterans around Carr, say, we got to win now, when the team wasn't that good, which resulted in last year, which resulted in the panic mode, which resulted in giving a guy who'd been out of football for more than a decade a $100 million contract, which and a clear conflict with the GM. All the guys that McKenzie's bringing in, Gruden's cutting, and all the guys that Gruden wants, McKenzie doesn't want. There are a lot of dysfunctional issues with Oakland. There have been for a long time. I think Mark Davis, as an owner, he's not as bad as some of the worst ones, but he was dealt a difficult card, and I don't know. And look, he got a stadium in Vegas. The franchise is worth plenty. Whether they're going to be any good or not is another question entirely. The Gruden hiring, splashy. I don't know if it's a splashy move he wanted to make.
Fair enough, Teddy. Let's head on. We got one more afternoon game here. We got Seattle at the LA Rams, 51.5, with the Rams off of a loss for the first time, laying doubles at home.
Yeah, look-ahead line here was Rams minus 8.5. My powering number is Rams minus 10. And that's where the market is right now. You realize this is the first time in his entire career, even when he was a rookie, that Russell Wilson's been a double-digit underdog?
I didn't realize that, no.
Yeah, that stood out to me. I mean, this is not a point spread range that we're used to seeing from Seattle. And, again, it's a divisional matchup at home, but the Rams also play Kansas City on Monday night in Mexico City next week. And they're coming off a huge game at New Orleans, a game in which, frankly, they look gassed by the fourth quarter of that contest. I worry about LA's mentality here. Off a loss. It wasn't like the Rams were going to go undefeated, and they know that. We'll see how they bounce back, but certainly from a value standpoint, there might be some value here on the Seattle side, although, boy, the Seahawks just got eaten up at the line of scrimmage yesterday, and that's not necessarily a good sign going up against Aaron. And Aaron Donald was still, the Saints scored 45 on the Rams yesterday, and Aaron Donald was still a monster. The rest of the defense, unfortunately, for LA backers was not. But the number does seem a little bit high. The early money, a little bit of money came on the Rams, but I'm not expecting any more. I don't think this line goes higher than 10. If you like Seattle, not going to hurt you to grab the 10 now. I would expect that this number more likely to go down than it is to go up. 51.5 the total. I don't see a whole lot of movement on that early. I would be surprised if it closed within a half point of that number.
We got Dallas at Philadelphia, the Sunday night game with so Dallas playing tonight's Monday night game and this next week's Sunday night game. Dallas at Philadelphia with the game still pending, a limited marketplace, but seeing the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles laying 6 or 6.5 at home.
Yeah, and the look-ahead line here was Philly -6. My powering number is Philly -6. If the Cowboys come out and lay a whooping on Tennessee tonight, that number will go down. If the Cowboys lose at home, the other end of the spectrum, the Titans come out and beat them up, 6, 6.5, I don't even know if you get a 7. You might get a 7 there. So I guess it's more likely to go down a little bit than to go up a little bit, but it's not a situation where I'm like, you got to run to the betting window. How the Cowboys look tonight is going to dramatically affect this number. It just doesn't feel like the way. And again, if Dallas wins, which as their favorite they're supposed to, it's going to be 2 4-4 teams fighting perhaps for a share of first place, depending on what happens with the Redskins on Sunday as well. So a very meaningful divisional game for Dallas, who is 0-4 on the road this season.
Guys, we got one game left. Remember the coupon code TEDDYSAVE at checkout to save over $400 on his 90-day all-access package, bringing it down to $549. You'll get every play, Teddy covers releases for under $6 a day. That carries you all the way throughout the Super Bowl. Get all of Teddy's props for the Super Bowl, which is a great package as well. And just a reminder, he's hot. 68% NFL year-to-date, 79% NBA year-to-date, 57% college football year-to-date, and my favorite, 160, 114. That's 58% in the NFL over the last 3+ years. That's since the start of the 2015 NFL season. So last game up here, Teddy, we got the Monday Nighter, New York Giants at the San Francisco 49ers. 43 the total, with the 49ers laying pretty much 3 across the board at home.
Yeah, and just one brief note about the that offer. And I always tell you, don't buy plays, buy a package. This is a real, $6 a day for everything for the next 3 months. That's a good deal. And again, I don't do anything in college hoops until after Thanksgiving. I'm not going to give you 40 plays in college hoops in November. Not going to happen, because I'm going to work the sports that I'm working and then add the new sport as college football starts to wind down. So just be aware of that coming in. But what is it, less than $550 for 3 months, including all of bowl season and all the NBA and all the college hoops post-Thanksgiving and obviously the Super Bowl and all that. It's a good deal. I encourage you to take advantage of that offer right now. When it comes to next Monday night, the game that nobody is excited about, the 2-7 49ers against the 1-7 Giants. Look-ahead line here with San Fran -2. Powering numbers, San Fran -3. That's where the markets are as well. Both teams with a little bit extra time. The Giants are coming off the bye. They have ample extra time. San Fran coming off the Thursday night blowout over Oakland. They've got a couple of extra days. The question, of course, is Nick Mullins. That really is the handicap here. And from a point spread standpoint, it's like, what did we see? Do we believe it? And Mullins has been named the starter. I'm sorry, he's not. I'm looking at something old. Mullins questionable this week. Beathard questionable this week. So some of that, what we saw last week, was Oakland. Was just the fact that it was Oakland. Some of that was a quarterback making some plays, and it'll be very interesting to see what the decision we see coming out of San Fran via Beathard or Mullins this week. I do think that either way, it's going to be hard to attract Giants money, even though the Giants did have the extra week to prepare. But the wise guys love that Giants statistical profile. This line's not going any higher than 3. I'll tell you that. It's not going to go to 3.5. The wise guys will be all over the G-men because, the G-men are this year's Browns, where they're betting them every week and losing every week. But, look at the stats. The stats are good. Giants stats are good. They're reasonable. Of course, half their offensive stats will come in garbage time. But the defensive stats are solid.
Teddy, anything else you want to throw out there?
Gosh, I mean, you know how it is right now, man. I mean, as you get into November and it ratchets up and there's a lot of stuff going on, don't let this stuff overwhelm you. Don't. No reason. And if you need some help, I'll be happy to do that. Me or any other guys at Sports Memo. There are a lot of guys right now in very, very good current form.
Yeah, absolutely. Hot handicappers all over sportsmemo.com. Teddy leading the pack here. Already threw it out. 68% NFL year to date. Remember the coupon code, guys. Teddy save at checkout for the 90-day all access. Over $400 off. $549 total. Less than $6 a day. Get you all the way through the Super Bowl. Next Monday, Kelly in Vegas will likely be back on. If not, I'll be in off the bullpen. And for the Sports Memo podcast, we'll be back tomorrow with the NHL podcast, going over 4 or 5 games with Andrew McGinnis, and then back at it Wednesday with the college football Every Game on the Board podcast. So for Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in, guys.